Hi guys, today I'm going to review a program called IK Manager from Ken 1171. I've been meaning to review this for some time and have only just gotten around to it. I would describe this as a terribly designed product that you definitely should buy. The reason you should buy it is because it will definitely simplify your life if you deal with a lot of human figures. The reason it's terribly designed we will get on to, but full disclosure before I start, Ken and I have had some words in the past. I believe that he has an unhealthily close relationship with Bondware Renderosity, possibly even to the extent that it has led to Poser being crippled in the way it was. So bear this review, bear that fact in mind when you listen to this review. But what does IK Manager do? So IK Manager is a script that loads into Poser that takes over the functions of inverse kinematics. So what's inverse kinematics? Well, if I take this figure here and I move this arm up and down, if I want to move this hand to here, I need to guess exactly. If I just grab this hand and try and move it, see the joints in between don't move very realistically. So if I just go backwards here and turn on, right click here and turn on inverse kinematics in the program, which I can turn on here, and I turn on left arm. Now if I just grab this, everything kind of moves a bit more realistic. The shoulder's doing some weird stuff there, but I can drag that and fix it eventually. Okay, but inverse kinematics basically does the linkages from here, here, and it reverse kind of poses all of the stuff in between. So it's tremendously useful when you want to say put something in a hand, or here I just want to move this hand over here. I'd still have to rotate that, but it's a lot easier way of posing. So let me just go back and undo that, and I'm going to turn this off. So you can see here that inverse kinematics at the moment is handled with a right click menu, or you can handle it up here with figure, and then it's in the kinematics menu here. This really is only left up here as a legacy option for people who perhaps have been using the program a long time and don't think to right click on your figures. Okay, so but if I right click on the figure, it will give me the option here to do inverse kinematics. That's fair enough, but now what IK Manager does is it adds a menu that I can do it. Before I talk about what it does any further, I'm going to talk about how to install it. So there's two ways to install the program. So the first, when you buy it at their store, here's my Poser library, and if you go to purchases logged into Renderosity, you'll see that it's down here, IK Manager for Poser 12, and then you just click install and it automatically installs it. Really couldn't be any easier. Or you can go up to here and do install from zip, and then add the path to the zip. Oops, daisy, that was not the right path. Let's go to wherever the path is, and install it that way. I don't know what that's trying to do there, but and it will install it from the zip file. Okay, so the store option is easier, but you may not like to be logged into the store from Poser. It's up to you, or you may be using the program offline. So if you do that and you've downloaded the zip file, you can install it using that install from zip option. Now, once you've installed it, you get to choose where you're going to put it, which Poser install you're going to put it. In my case, I put it in my Poser 6 install, which is where all my content is. And then you'll find in the scripts menu, to launch it, you have to go scripts, and then whichever folder, whichever Poser install. Ken 1171, you'll see I've also got his light dots program. I've got another couple as well, which I've not got around to installing again. And there's IK Manager. So I click on that, and wow, nothing's happened. Okay, so I'll click on that again, and there it is. It's loaded at the bottom. So that's one of the first problems, that it doesn't load automatically. Now, I need to expand upon that, because in the past, with the previous versions of Poser 11 downwards, you could add a script to the startup menu such that when when Poser started, it automatically launched scripts, and that was fantastically useful, because one of the annoyances with a program like IK Manager is that it's something that you use all the time, but you don't think to launch it. So now I have to go up to here, scripts, Poser, Ken 1171 IK Manager to launch it. Now that's the first problem, and that really is one of the things that I really dislike about this program, and one of the things that I think Ken and Renderosity / Bondware really screwed us over on. They have this new architecture where the scripts are not stored how they used to be stored, and the program doesn't start up how it used to start up. So the old trick, according to Ken at least, the old trick of adding it to the startups folder for scripts doesn't work anymore. So now you have to manually launch it. Now you might think to yourself, oh, that's not a big deal. But then the thing is, when you start having lots of scripts, I've got probably 4 or 5 scripts that I would have liked to have launched. Here's a light dot script. Again, it's not loading first time. Click on it again. Light dots. There you go. And now it's initialized down there. So when you have 4 or 5 quality of life scripts running, suddenly it becomes a nuisance to have to click 4 or 5 times through that messing about in the scripts menu. So that's one of the things that I really think that Ken needs to sort out. Now, on to some of the good points here. I'm just going to leave that light dots thing floating around. The program, incidentally, if I click on this thing here, I can float this. There's a little unpinned thing. This acts like a normal Poser palette, which is to say that you can resize it, you can dock it into various places. So I can dock it down there, I can dock it across here, and it will dock into anywhere that you could dock any normal Poser palette. That's fantastic. Another great thing about it is that, good or bad, depending on your view, is that each room has their own iteration. Now, you see here now I'm in the material room. Probably not going to need IK Manager. I'm probably not going to be doing posing from here, but I might do. But you see that it's not loaded. So if I go back to my material room, I now have to run that script again. So now it's not just once I've got to run it, but multiple times. Okay, so now I'll run that again. Okay, where am I going to dock that? Okay, I'll dock that in this panel over here, same place as the other one. Now if I go back to pose, close this one down, go back to material, this iteration is closed as well. So that's not consistent. I needed to do 2 different versions to launch it, but only one closed both iterations. So I would call that a bug or a poor design. So now I'll launch it again. This time, look, it's auto docked to this pane. Why is it docking there? That's not where I put it. So now I'm going to grab this. I'm going to drag it over to this pane to be consistent with the other one. And not here at all. So now if I launch it again, sometimes when you come back to this one, it docks in a little side pane here. So it really is completely screwed up from that point of view. Now if I launch it again, let's see what it does this time. Okay, it's floating this time. So that wasn't what it was doing before. Okay, now back to some of the good features. And you'll see with this light dots as well, because it respects Poser's window or pane conventions, you can add it to your interface buttons here. So I have it as part of my interface here. So if I click this button, there you go, that's there. Light dots is down there. I'll just maximize that window because I normally have a menu bar at the bottom. And you'll see it's auto docked. Now, onto the program's features. So what the program does is you select a figure, and then these are your inverse kinematic buttons. So these are the 4 that come by default with Poser. That's great. Just having those as an on-screen option rather than having to menu click, that is worth its weight in gold straight away. But even more useful is now you have both or none. So you can do both legs, both arms, no legs, no arms, or all 4 at once. So here now, if I go on here, you'll see all 4 have been selected, or none. and you'll just to confirm, none have been selected. But again, there are some weirdnesses with this program. Let me just shut that other window down. There are some weird features, because sometimes what you'll find is if you load a figure that already has kinematics on one or more limbs, sorry, and then you go into IK Manager won't recognise that figure has got inverse kinematics on. So at the moment, you see it says none down here, and if I go on the figure, it says none. Now, earlier on when I was testing this, if I now click here, and you'll see, so I've put kinematics on manually on the figure, but IK Manager doesn't recognise that I've added that now. So that is an inconsistency, I would call it. Okay, now I've clicked on it and it's picked it up. Okay, so that's kind of weird, you know. It's not updating fully. Let me show you something else. I just clicked on that horse, and it reveals something else. You see here, it says this figure doesn't follow standard poser IK chains naming conventions. And what that means is that IK Manager uses the internal poser parts here, L foot, L shin, L thigh, so on, to work out its kinematic chain, if you like. But for the horse, this is L, whatever that is, L Paston 4. So even though the parts are the same, it can't work out where the chain should go. So I understand why Ken has done that, and I don't really hold it against him. It would have been nice if you could do it on all kinds of figures, especially as this horse actually allows you to do kinematics. It would have been nice if the application had picked up the kinematics chain from the figure rather than from the chain names. It's a kind of limited, but I understand why he did it. But something far more annoying, far more important. So I click on this, it gives me this warning. Now, I would say that the default, what this is telling me is that when I go into IK Manager, this is not going to work on this figure. Fair enough. There's an option down here, no warnings. And if I click that, shut that, then click that, now click on this horse, and it doesn't give me that annoying warning. I would have thought that the default here should have been no warnings, because it's far more likely, given the fact that you could be working with plot props, scene elements, backgrounds, all kind of things, not to mention any number of figures that don't conform, that no warnings thing would come up. So I would have thought the default should be no warnings, rather than getting that annoying every single time. Bing, bing, you know, every single time. It's like, how many times do you need to be told the same thing, you know? So I think that even there, I didn't select that horse again. I just did undo to move it back to its position, and this starts interfering and giving me warnings. Right, I'm going to leave that turned off for now. So I've already talked about the basic function of what the program does, and there really isn't an awful lot more to say about that. It works perfectly fine here with La Femme. It works fine with basically any figure that uses the traditional naming conventions for parts of the limbs, which, so far as I can see, is all the poser figures going way back. And for example, let me just load another figure. I'll just open up the library on another window, and I'm just going to load some figures. And so this figure here is called Farmer Joe. It's a standalone figure, not based on any existing poser geometry. You know, many figures are based on Michael IV or La Femme or L'Homme or whatever, but this is a standalone figure called Farmer Joe. And I'll just turn off this warnings thing so you can hear if there's a problem. So click on the horse, gives me a warning. Click on him, no warning, because his limbs still follow the same naming conventions. Now if I add his overalls to the scene, and immediately I get that warning, even just as they load, even if I do nothing with them. So and then I click, now I've clicked on the horse, click on the leg down here, and the leg is right shin. So even though it's got the right part name, because it doesn't have the foot, it brings up that warning again. That's pretty annoying, to be honest. So I'm going to turn the warnings off. Ken, you really should have made that off by default. Now let's look at some of the other things that that don't work, I guess I would say. what I had in my notes is that it doesn't load if the initial figure doesn't follow the naming conventions. But I think what it is that simply it just doesn't load the first time at all. So I don't know what that's all about, what has to be done. I reported that to Ken a year ago, and this is the latest version according to Renderosity, and it seems that he's not addressed that. But I just think that the usefulness here, while I'm posing a figure, okay, so that's not got IK on it, so I'll just quickly switch it on for both arms, and now I can drag that around. It's so much easier just to be able to do that. No right clicks. Okay, maybe I'll just do the right leg here and just grab that up. There you go, super easy. Let's try it with La Femme. Okay, her legs are already done, so let's take a right leg up here. So she's kind of about to knee somebody. I'll turn off the left leg for contrast. See, just the ankle bend, so you can see how much easier that was. Let me just go back. I think this is the so now I'll do both legs just to simplify things. Both legs on, and this is the example that Ken actually gives you in his marketing with both feet anchored to the floor. If you grab the hip, how easy is that to sit somebody down? Okay, just a tiny bit of adjustment. So I really do swear by this program. It's definitely in my everyday use. I just wish it loaded with the program. I'm going to give this, I guess I'd give this a 3.5 out of 5. Not because it's not an invaluable program, but because it's got a number of bugs in it or a number of design flaws. But anyway, well done, Ken. Recommend people buy this. It is pretty game changing. And I will speak to you guys later. Hey guys, one more thing before I go while I'm thinking about it. This is the program that I reviewed on Ken's page on Renderosity, and which Renderosity deleted my review. I said in my review that it was bad that it didn't load with startup, and they said that it wasn't fair game for me to criticise it for features it didn't have. But I think absolutely. I mean, you know, if I bought a car and a car only had 3 wheels, I would be fully entitled to review that, criticise the fact it only had 3 wheels. And to my mind, the fact that it doesn't auto load is almost as incapacitating as a car with 3 wheels. You know, it takes away a major convenience of the program. Any program that takes more effort to use is a program that you're less likely to use on a regular basis, especially when it's part of a suite of programs that you're going to use. So Bondware, basically, or Renderosity, whoever it was that deleted my review, that's, to be honest, that's really BS that they did that. And this is, you know, this is a program that they did it on. So anyway, just letting you know.